Alrighty, everyone. What's up? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is August the 8th. A lot of things to kind of go over today. With it being a Friday, we have some charts to go over. As for the markets in itself, still a decent amount of volatility you can see this week. A lot of kind of trades to both sides. We've been trading towards the upside primarily, but there have been nice kind of short setups as well. Yesterday, really solid trade on AMD, mean reversion, kind of similar to trade we had on Apple the day earlier with kind of this earnings reversal. We'll talk about that setup, and then we'll talk about some setups that we're looking at coming into today. What's up, Ricardo? Good morning. What's up, Jeff, B Roots, KO? What's up, Hartik? What's up, Non-Tale? What's up, 50, Darth, Annabelle, Detecto? What's up, Monty, Robert, Centurion, Karen. Oh, no, sorry, completely pronounced that one. What's up, Vade, Maria, I am, JT, Wayne, Pete, Victor, Wendell, Sam, Gabby, Cinna, Daniela, Edison. What's up, Parker, Luis, Miss Reggie, John? What's good, everyone? Yeah, hope you guys are doing well. Let's head on to the major indices, and then we will take a look at what we're coming into today. So, first things first, let's start off on the 1 hour chart. So this is the ES on the 1 hour time frame. As you can see, coming to this week, I've been mentioning, right, there's going to be a decent amount of volatility. We're not going to have a bias to one side. Basically every single day, right, we've had some nice moves, right, either towards the upside, rejections at key levels, right, bounces at key levels here as well. And that's basically what it has been doing this week, right? We opened up primarily in the same spot. We're about to open up close to where we opened up on Monday's open. But really, at least for this week, we haven't had a super clear direction, at least on the higher time frames. A lot of it just has been intraday trends, and then higher time frames is still fairly neutral. As you can see, we're just kind of back right into equilibrium. If we were to mark out this swing high to this swing low, we're kind of right in the middle, which is your 6370. And in my opinion, these are the best times for at least day trades wise, because you can trade this to both sides of the market. If you go into the ES here, let's go into the lower time frames. Levels coming into today that I have marked out. Number one is just going to be your Tuesday's highs. You can see we have multiple touches here. Tuesday's highs, we have your Wednesday's key pivot point here as well. And then today, what would you like to see is the reaction that you have off of your 6370. If you can maintain above your 6370, you can see this potential push up and towards your previous day highs, 6420. If we get back underneath this 6370, we can see this push back down in towards the low of the range, which is your previous day lows, 6330. So coming into today here for the overall markets, we are going to open up close to the middle of the range here on a Friday with no red folder news and no really clear direction for the week. I wouldn't be surprised if we do have an inside bar day today. So for SPY, the key levels is going to be your previous day highs along with your previous day lows. As I mentioned, we're about to open up in the middle of the range most likely. So we'll really see what happens within the first 10 to 15 minutes on the both SPY and the Qs. The levels, similar thing here, is just going to be your Tuesday's highs here for the SPY. If we can maintain above your 632.50, you can see this push back up and towards your 636. If I'm looking for a little bit more downside, now it's going to be underneath your 632.50 here on the SPY chart. We'll see what shapes up, as I mentioned, with no red folder news and kind of just opening up inside the range here. As for the QQQ, the Qs, of course, is a little bit more bullish than SPY. SPY closer to the middle of the range, whereas the QQQ is very close to our all-time highs level, which now is going to be your number one level is your 573, along with our all-time highs being our 576 here. So if we go on to the 15-minute time frame coming into this morning, key levels that we're going to have marked out here on the Qs is going to be this 573, levels towards the downside, previous day lows 565. As for other key levels we can have marked out, it's just going to be our Wednesday's highs, 567.50. So coming into today, what I really like to see here on that QQQ is one of two things. right, the push all the way back down in towards our Wednesday's highs for this continuation higher, or now it's going to be this potential kind of trade up in towards your previous day highs, which is going to be this 573. So the key levels for the Qs today, previous day highs, along with your Wednesday's highs, which is going to be this 567.50. I'm not as interested in shorting the Qs just because it's a little bit more bullish. If you're comparing the SPY and the Qs yesterday, you can see SPY nice drop. Qs, we end up having a nice drop late into the session as well, but not as relatively weak compared to the SPY chart. So that's for the major indices, SPY and the Qs. As for the NQ, key levels that we have marked out is still your Tuesday's highs. And then we also have now, it's going to be your previous day highs, your 23680 here on the higher time frame. So for the NQ, key levels that we have marked out, 23,420. And we also have your previous day highs. What I like to see here for the NQ, with it being in the middle of the range, I like to see it really pushed all the way down in towards your 23,400 for potential opportunity, or now it's just going to be this consolidation, right? Opening range break for this push back up in towards your previous day highs, 23,660 here for the major indices. As for some of the tech names that we can go over coming into today, let's go into Tesla. So Tesla number one, this one's holding up nicely. Coming into Friday here as well, we had this higher time frame wedge pattern, so we're gravitating towards the top of the range. As you can see, we have multiple touches here on Tesla. What I really like to see still is going to be the break above this wedge pattern for continuation towards the upside. If you go into the lower time frames here, key levels that we have marked out coming into today is going to be your Wednesday's highs, 320. So what I like to see here, maintain above your 320 for this potential push back up and towards your previous day highs here and above. So that's what we have for Tesla. Only way I'm leaning a little bit more towards the downside, break back underneath this 320 key pivot level. But this one does look good if we're basing it off of this week's price action. You can see Monday's price action. Now we're coming into Friday. This one does look good for continuation as long as you can hold above your Wednesday's highs, 320 here on Tesla. As for Nvidia, this one, nice push right up and towards our all-time highs yesterday after maintaining above that 181 right off the bat. Ended up having a couple reactions off your all-time highs, which was expected, and then just filled the gap back towards the downside. As for Nvidia coming into today, I'm not as bullish on this name just because we hit our all-time highs, but the key levels for Nvidia coming into today is going to be this 181.50. We like to see this level hold for continuation, or now it's going to be primarily the break above your previous day highs along with their all-time highs for continuation towards the upside here as well. Semiconductors have been fairly strong, as primarily AMD on that earnings reversal. As for Nvidia, the strength here is still intact, right? Higher time frame still very much intact as well. What I'd like to see kind of moving forward on Nvidia is eventually going to be this kind of cup and handle that's going to form. So we have that double top. Now let's see if we can get that break back above your previous day highs and above for potential continuation higher. So for Nvidia, just mark out key levels in this case, which is going to be this 181.50 along with your previous day highs, 183.50 here on Nvidia. Let's go into AMD. So AMD, really solid push yesterday back up in towards our 175. The key levels that we have marked out was our previous day high. So we mentioned yesterday, key levels, if you can get back above your previous day highs, there's a potential for an earnings reversal, very similar to Apple a few days ago. We had that break back above your previous day highs, and then there's a nice earnings reversal in play. So you can see really big volume that kind of came in, really solid push back up and towards the highs, right? Earnings reversal high. And then similar thing here with AMD. You can see, right, nice break back above your previous day highs. In this case, it was our 167 level that we have marked out right off the bat. Extreme relative strength, almost the exact same setup as Apple, right? Relative strength within the first 5 minutes, tipping its hand for a potential pushback towards the upside. And you can see, right, nice reaction off of our 175. Now the next levels on AMD coming into today is going to be back up in towards our 178, and then this earnings high, which is going to be this 180 here on the higher time frame. So coming into today here for AMD, what I personally like to see now is it maintain above this 175. What I like to see is buyers step in off this 175 and push this back up in towards the 178 here and above. If you go into the 5-minute chart, this is the exact level, right? Previous day highs, you can see a couple of reactions here, nice little wick. So this is the exact level. Really nice push here in the after hours along with the pre-market. So now this is going to be your retest level for continuation back towards the highs here on AMD. As for other names, let's go on to Apple. Apple is still looking good here as well after this initial pop and then the pop in the after hours yesterday. Sorry, the after hours on Wednesday, and then yesterday just a lot more consolidation, but you can see kind of this flat top break here on Apple, right? A lot of consolidation. Now we're breaking above it in the after hours, and in the pre-market what we like to see is base above 220 for this nice pushback up and towards your 225 here on Apple. So key levels coming to today is going to be this 220. This is your previous day highs and the exact level we'd like to see maintain for this continued push towards the upside. Another possible scenario is if it breaks back underneath, you could be looking for the reclaim back up and towards the highs here as well. So for Apple, previous day highs here is going to be key. If you're looking at this on the daily time frame, you can actually see we just filled this daily gap, which is this 220.73. Now, if you can get above your daily gap, maintain above your previous day highs, the next logical levels here on the higher time frames is going to be 225. So that's what we're going to have marked out here for Apple. As for a few other names, we have here is we can just take a look at Meta real quick. Meta not really doing too much, just a lot more consolidation coming to this week. Levels that have drawn out, just a little bit messy here as well, but key levels is your 765 where we have multiple touches. I would hold off on Meta, but key level is going to be this 765 reclaim for a potential push higher. As for Microsoft, this one finally came back down in towards that retest level that I was talking about, which is your previous all-time highs plus your gap fill here on the daily chart. Now, this is exactly where I'd like to see the buyers step in, right off this 518. So you can see yesterday some buyers started stepping in close, very close to market close. So this is exactly the key level. Now what I like to see is really maintain above your 518 for this potential push back towards your previous day highs at this point. So for Microsoft, you can see key levels now is going to be this 524. So you'd like to see the break back above your 524 for this continued push back towards the upside. As for some other tickers, Amazon, similar thing. So a lot of these nice earnings reversal plays that occurred in the markets, Amazon, AMD, along with Amazon, Nvidia, sorry, Amazon, AMD, along with, which chart was it? Sorry, I'm blanking here. But yeah, this name and then Apple, sorry. Can't believe I forgot about that. But yeah, Apple, Amazon, and AMD. So for Amazon, key levels coming into today, we're going to have marked out your Wednesday's highs, but nice kind of earnings reversal earlier into the week. Key level Wednesday's highs now. If you do want to see any sort of continuation back towards the upside, key level is going to be this 222. What we like to see is it maintain above this 222 for this push back up and towards your 226 here. On Amazon, this is the level we can have marked out now. So you like to see, right, continuation above your Wednesday's highs or above your previous day highs for this continued push back towards the upside. So we have Amazon, a bunch of these other names that look good as long as you can maintain above that Wednesday's highs. As for a few other tickers, Google, this one's shaping up nicely here as well here on the higher time frames. You can see we have multiple touches right off our 199. So you can see multiple touches here, touch yesterday, touch earlier into the week and a couple weeks ago plus earnings. Now, if you can get above your 199 here on Google, this one looks good for a flat top break continuation or even a range break continuation back towards the high. So keep an eye out on Google coming into today. If you can get above our 198.97, and a hold of that level for this push back towards the upside. So that's what we have here on Google. We actually have this daily gap back towards the upside as well. So we still have a bunch of targets for Google. If we can now reclaim, get back above that 198.90s for this push up and towards 200 and above, which is going to be 201 and your 203.80, which would be that full daily gap. So we can just have this alert set. And we'll take a look at Google coming into today. As for a few other names, we went over AMD. Let's go over Netflix. This one, higher time frame, just bouncing off of your support level. Now, what you like to see, at least on the daily chart, is kind of that reclaim back above your 1200. If you can reclaim back above your 1200, we can see a nicer move back towards the upside here on Netflix. So that's going to be the key levels that we have marked out on this ticker. All right. Key levels coming into today, just briefly go over. We don't have any red folder news, but it's just going to be inside the middle of the range. I'm not expecting too much today. We'll see what shapes up with the major indices on both the SPY and Qs. We do see quite a few names that look really good above your Wednesday's highs though. So if the SPY and Qs consolidates or is within its previous day's range, we can keep an eye out on Tesla for relative strength above your Wednesday's highs. Google, if we can break above this flat top 198. As for Apple, similar thing here, break and hold above. Now it's going to be your previous day highs. And then of course for the semiconductors, we like to see now it's primarily going to be the break above your all-time highs 183 or the hold of this 180-150s. And then AMD, I still like this one here as well, above your 175. All right. If you guys do have any charts or any tickers you'd like me to go over, you guys can drop them in the chat now as well. I'll go over them for the next kind of 20 minutes here. All right. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Yeah, if you guys have any charts or tickers, you guys can drop them in the chat. I'll go over them. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate it if you guys drop me a like. If you guys do want to join the watch list, that is, of course, in the description below. All right, let's see. Top of the morning, what's good? All right, let me go over some tickers here. Palantir. So Palantir continuing to push towards the upside after earnings earlier this week. Just nice continuation every single day above key levels. So for Palantir, you can see above your previous day highs, right? Nice hold, continuation higher. Another hold of your previous day highs yesterday, a push up and towards where we actually had our fibs drawn out. So this is a great example of using our Fibonacci's, actually hit it to a tick, which was our 184.20s. Which end up hitting nicely. As for the key levels now that we're going to have marked out, is just going to be your previous day highs once again, which is this 184.20. So for Palantir coming into today, similar thesis the whole week. What we like to see is to just maintain above your previous day highs key pivot point, right? Either the dip down in towards your 180.50 or now it's going to be the break above your previous day highs hold for this continued pushback towards the upside. Anybody got the TradingView setting template I could download? Are you talking about this specific one? This one is just blank. There's no template on it. It's just the colors in itself. This one would be pretty easy to make. It's just white background, just the color, black candles, and then gray candles up, and that's about it. Let's see, SoFi. All right, so for SoFi, this one, consolidation here after after earnings that we had a few weeks ago. Now what we like to see is going to be the break back above this 2250 on the daily time frame if we want to see any sort of continuation back towards the upside. So for SoFi, key levels that we have marked out really is, for me, there's going to be this 2260. We can also have marked out a few intraday levels here as well, primarily your Monday's highs if we'd like, which let's just mark this out currently, right? Monday's highs, we can just drag this over. So for SoFi, nice base above your Monday's highs along with your Friday's highs of last week. And you can see nice hold. Now what we like to see, break above your previous day highs along with this 2260 for this continued pushback towards upside here on SoFi. As for Hood, nice reclaim here as well. I talked about this one yesterday, a break above this 108. Now the next levels that we have on Hood is going to be back up and towards your all-time high. So for this name, key levels that we have marked out is our 113. You can see this is from earnings. We also took out your earnings key pivot point here as well. So this is the level we can also have marked out, 111.37. As for today, right after reclaiming back above your 107, gravitating back up and towards this earnings high, for Hood, key level that we have marked out is going to be this 111.50. You like to see it maintain above this 111.50 for this continued push back up in towards that 113.50, which is going to be your all-time highs here on Hood. So that's what we have marked out today on this ticker. Let's see. CRWV, Entra, Frog. I'll take a look at those ones here as well. Will you be trading 0 days or next week's expirations? If I do take any trades, primarily on Fridays, there are going to be 0 days on half size or lighter size. If I do think there's a higher time frame perspective and I need to give it more room, then I'm going to take next week's expirations. As for CRWV, yeah, this one's just continuing to push back towards the downside after hitting, sorry, CRWV. Or CrowdStrike. Oh, I thought you were talking about CRWV. This one's CrowdStrike. This one breaking back underneath key levels, which is our 455. You can see now our previous support now turned into resistance, pushing this back towards the downside. Next key levels on CRWD is going to be back down in towards your 415 here, which is the low of the range in your key level support all the way back from May of earlier this week, earlier this year. As for Frog, it does seem like this one had earnings. I'm not sure exactly what this is, but for this ticker, key levels that we're just going to have marked out now is just going to be this key pivot point, which is the level that we have a tough time getting above, 45 key psych level. You can see multiple touches still here. Really not too much to talk about this one, but now what you like to see is primarily the break above, hold above your 45 for continuation. What you don't want to see, another rejection and push back towards the downside. LLY, this one had earnings yesterday. Key levels that we have marked out is now just going to be your 640. So this actually broke outside of this consolidation period that we had. So key level support, which is our 720. Now you can see with earnings gapping down, pushing towards the downside. Next key levels, we'll actually have to go back onto the weekly chart. But key levels here is going to be all the way back down here, which is your 600 key psychological level, plus your weekly down close candles here as well. So this is the level, which is going to be your 620 here on the higher time frames. As for this name, it does seem like it's staying heavy. What you like to see now is right, pop and fade down in towards your previous day lows and below, which is going to be the 620 here on the higher time frames. All right, let me scroll down here. Let me go over a few tickers while answering some questions. How do you determine which stock has relative strength on the day? So there's something called intraday relative strength is what we look for intraday. And then we also look at these names in the pre-market just to understand if there's any sort of news events or what's going on in the pre-market that could potentially give us a tip its hand maybe before the pre-market. So for something like Apple, right, we had news in the pre-market. So on Wednesday, this was our top watch just because we're interested. We had news. We're reclaiming back above your previous day highs, showing relative strength compared to the markets. So we're keeping an eye on that one. AMD, we're keeping an eye on this one here as well because this one's also above your previous day highs in the pre-market. Plus, it had earnings the day before. So you can expect a decent amount of volatility just because of that major news event we had. So these two names that we've been looking at had earnings either the day before or the week prior. So these were automatically our top watch coming into market open for a potential move. So if we show any sort of relative strength, which as you can see within the first few minutes, that's a good indication that price is most likely going to continue, and that's going to be one of our main watches. So within the first 5 minutes or within the first few minutes already, we're paying attention to AMD. You can see if we're looking at this, obviously right here, if we look at the SPY and Qs, there's not too much that we can see just right off the bat, right on the SPY and Qs with the relative strength, but AMD higher time frame thesis plus right that earnings right above your previous day highs plus earnings was the major factor here, right? Earnings was the key kind of driver for a potential reversal that we had. As for Spotify, key levels that we have marked out in this case is going to be this daily gap fill that we actually ended up filling back towards the upside. So right here, you can see we just took out your 685 here. That was the key level that we have marked out. Now what we like to see is really the rejection off your 785, or now it's going to be maintained back above this level for the next continued push higher, which is going to be this 694 here and above. Let me go over a few other ones. Is it very risky to trade on zeros? Yeah, it's very risky. So that's why if you are a beginner and you're trading 0-day contracts, you don't understand how they move, I'd recommend not trading zeros and trade next week's contracts. When you're trading 0-day contracts, regardless, you're not going to be holding them for a very long time. It's just primarily a scalp. And of course, on Friday, you're going to be selling a lot faster compared to the rest of the week just because of the time decay. As for Mara, the key levels that we have marked out is our 1620. Bitcoin sympathies have been slowly trying to reclaim back above key levels here with coin and MSTR. But for key levels now on Mara, it's going to be the 1620 that you're going to have to reclaim and get back above. As for a few other names, RKLB, how do you draw your zones? Do you look for the wicks or the bodies? I draw both. So that's a great question. When I was a beginner, I was asked, right, do you draw at the wick? Do you draw at the body? Because I never got a clear answer because it would always just be different. Now it's the full thing. So you draw out the wick to the body because a lot of times, right, sometimes it'll respect the wick, sometimes it'll respect the body, right? It's just your down close candle. So that's why you just draw out the full thing. So if you have this right here, you can just draw it from the wick to the body, and then that's going to be your key level. As for RKLB, this one had earnings yesterday. Key level now is going to be, right, your 4250. And then we can also mark out other key levels here, which is just going to be your previous day highs plus your earnings high now, which is going to be this 47. So 47 is key. What you like to see on this ticker is now the break above 47, hold above 47 for this continuation back towards upside. Okay, let's see a couple other ones. Circle. So Circle, this one pulling back here on the higher time frames. We tried reclaiming back above key levels yesterday. If I was to kind of refine it, it would just be this. Kind of came back up into this 168. And then you can see nice little sharp reaction right off that level. Now the levels I have marked out is just going to be your previous day lows and also your Wednesday's lows. Not too much to talk about. Most pops in this case have been shorted just back towards the downside. Now we're gonna have to reclaim back above this 170 if we want to see any sort of right continuation back towards the upside here. It does seem like it's staying heavy. Most pops are being shorted. Next level of support down in towards that 150, and this daily gap back down in towards that 130 here on the higher time frames. As for TEM, this one had earnings yesterday, moving up nicely here. Key level, just a lot of consolidation, at least on the daily time frame. Key levels on the 1 hour chart is just going to be back up and towards this key pivot high, which you can have marked out with earnings, which you can see we have another touch here as well. So for TEM coming into today, what you like to see is now going to be the break back above your 65.50, hold above that level for this continued push back towards the highs. So that's what we have on TEM. Which higher time frame is the most consistent when choosing to trade? If you're day trading, you can use the 1 hour and 15-minute time frame. If we're swing trading, right, we can use the daily time frame as well. But primarily, right, in this market, a lot of things move fairly quick. So you can actually, you don't have to be on the higher time frame just because a lot of moves happen on, right, the 15-minute and just the 1 hour. And you'll see they hit key levels and they'll end up reversing. So day trading, look back 3 to 5 sessions, and you can look at the 15-minute chart along with the 1 hour chart as well. Um, as a day trader, how many days do you go out? Primarily, I always go out. I usually choose weekly contracts. Weekly contracts won out the money. If it's something like today with 0 days, right, you can choose 0 days, but I'm most likely recommend if you are a beginner to choose next week's contracts, which are going to be next week's expirations on Friday. I tend to watch too many tickers. What is your limit? I try and look for 2 to 3 top watches and then have alerts set on everything else. So if they do go off, then we can pay attention to them. So for gold, still a lot of people always ask me gold. Nothing's really going on too much, at least on the higher time frames. If you're looking at the lower time frames, you can see just a lot of consolidation. So I personally don't think there's too much opportunity besides kind of just these like intraday reversals, which if you do trade reversals, you can be looking for these ones, but it's a lot easier if you're trading right when it's in a trend. When it's in a trend, we have clear levels, right? Clear levels of resistance turning to support for continuation higher. At least for gold now, what we like to see is going to be the break above your 3,400, hold for this continuation back up and towards your 3,435. That actually brings up my point for my YouTube video tomorrow. That one is actually going to be a good video talking about the 2 possible scenarios for the opening range, and I talk about the reversal setup. So this is going to be great if you do trade indices, right? Stocks, futures, forex, because there's a lot more mean reversions when it does come to trading these specific names and these asset classes compared to names that we primarily trade, which will be tech names. There's a lot more continuation. So we usually look for continuation setups, but if you're trading indices, forex, they have different kind of objectives. So there's going to be a lot more mean reversions at like key levels, which you'd be looking for a lot more reversals instead of always looking for continuation. Okay. Let's see. Played AMD contracts, but the contracts didn't appreciate the way I expected. I'm confused what you mean by that on AMD. These contracts moved very nice. They moved closer to 170 all the way high to almost like $6 a contract, if I'm not mistaken. 170 a contract down here. I don't think they moved to $6, but they moved, I think, closer to, I forget what the top was, but it was like $5 to $6 a con. So it moved closer to like 200-300%, which was super nice on AMD. I'm not sure how much you want more on that one. Let's see. How much was your first? Let me go on to HIMS. Account that you actually profited from, and did you only pay attention to a couple of companies? When I first started, I actually traded small caps. I traded with like $3,000, but I was trading small caps, so it was a little bit different. But the first month when I traded, I got lucky. I made like 60 grand, or like my first. I didn't make 60 grand my first month, but I technically considered the first month where I actually day traded, where it was a very hot market. I made 60 grand trading small caps. Just based off a hot market. That was like pure luck. It had nothing to do with skill. I was just basically following alerts, and everything was going up. Like nothing was down. If you could have bought any penny stock, and basically there was no penny stocks, right? Penny stocks are underneath the dollar. At that time, the market was so hot that every company was above a dollar. That was the theme that we had. As for HIMS, this one's dropping here. Had earnings a couple days ago, broke underneath key levels. Now for this ticker, what we have here is your 55. We also mark out your previous day lows here as well. So that can be the key level that we have marked out. So we have HIMS, which is going to be your 50. What we like to see now is just to maintain above this if we want to see any sort of continuation higher. If we do want to break back underneath your 50-50, that is potential for continuation back towards the downside. Let's see. Why is Microsoft going down? Is your initial when you mark out your initial 15-minute candle range, is the candle open that appears at 9:30 to 9:45? That is correct. As for Microsoft, this one's going down just because we're coming back into that previous all-time highs level. So we had a big pop with earnings. We have this huge, it's a blow off a top move. So you can see how overextended Microsoft is. Really solid chart. We had that blow off the top move, which was your earnings. Now you can see we're going to start slowing down, but it just came right back down in towards key levels of support. So now this is the exact level you like to see the buyer step in, which is going to be your 517.50 here on the higher time frames. Afraid to swing anything with the volatility? Yeah, it's hard to swing when there's major volatility that happens overnight. So that's why it's primarily day trades. that you're going to be focusing on. As for APP, this one had earnings not too long ago here as well. Key level is going to be this 429.60s. This is the level we can have marked out. Now what we like to see is it maintain above this level if you want to see continuation. So 429.60s, you can see hold above this level. Now what we like to see continuation back towards the upside. Next key level here is going to be your previous day highs, maintain above your previous day highs. You can see this continue push back towards the upside here as well. Alrighty. AMD 167 was over $8. I think we were looking at the 160 or the 170s yesterday. Sorry, not the 167.50s. We were trading the 170s yesterday. Previous day highs. Let's see. All your videos are good, very deep and full of information. You understand my biggest problem is holding longer. Holding longer is just based off experience and how you manage your position. It's going to be very hard to hold longer if you're on a full position, but if you have trailer contracts or if you have a smaller position after you lock in profits, then you're able to hold for those higher time frame key levels. All right, let me go over a couple more tickers here. Let me actually go over XRP. This one's been moving very nicely and been one of the names that is continuing higher. So XRP, we had that nice break above your previous all-time highs against this chart, which is the chart that I marked out. I think it's this one. Let me see. This chart on XRP, nice hold of that 2 psych. Now we're back up and towards this all-time highs. Key level now for XRP is going to be the break back above your 335 for continuation higher. You can see really solid push up and towards your all-time highs. A little bit of a reaction. Now we can just draw this general area. And now this is going to be the reclaim level for continuation back towards the highs. All right. I'll go over my game plan here, and then I am going to call it a day and get ready for market open. So coming into today, I'm fairly neutral. As I mentioned, I've basically been neutral almost every single day this week just because of the higher time frames that we've had. I'm open to playing both sides because the market is very volatile and it can flip, right? If you have a trend that lasts for 30 minutes, it could very much well reverse, especially with this amount of volatility. So it's great for day trading, but you really don't want to hold anything for too long, at least any overnight positions on the major indices, right? You can hold overnight positions if something's like Apple, AMD, or any of the other tech names that have major news because it's not going to be as affected as the overall indice themselves. So for the SPY and Qs today, we're about to open up in the middle of the range, key level 573 previous day highs, along with our Wednesday's highs, which is going to be this 567. We'll just keep an eye out on your previous day close here as well. We'll see what happens within the first 10 to 15 minutes on the major indices. Similar thing here with the SPY. What we can have marked out is our 632 along with their previous day high 636. We also have your previous day close. So we'll see how the first kind of 10 to 15 minutes shapes up. If the market just consolidates for the first 30 minutes, or probably not. We're probably just going to have an inside bar day and be inside of its previous day's range. As for my top watches coming into today, we'll keep an eye out on Tesla above your Wednesday's highs, 320. 320 hold for potential move higher. Now it's going to be the break above your previous day highs for potential move higher. As for Nvidia, in the middle of the range, so we'll keep an eye out on this 180, 160s, or now it's going to be the break above your previous day highs and above. I'll just kind of outline this one. So for Tesla, I do like Tesla the best. As for Apple, I like Apple as well above your previous day highs continuation. As for Amazon, above your Wednesday's highs here. And then for AMD, what I like to see is it maintain above your previous day highs 175 for potential continuation back up and towards this 178. So for really the main watches, it's going to be Tesla, Apple, AMD, and then I also do like Google if you can break above this flat top, which is going to be this 198.97 for this potential continuation back up and towards the highs. Alrighty, let's see, I have a few months here as well. Sorry, I have a few questions that I do see, but that's basically the game plan for today. Usually when earnings are released once a quarter, and also when there are gaps, you look for continuation where there are gap in the daily when the market opens. So we have a gap and go, and then we also have a gap fill setup. So they're both different setups that we'll look for depending on the overall context, but there's two setups, right? The gap and go, which will be when price creates a gap and then we gravitate away from the gap, or we have a gap fill, which we have a gap up, and then we end up filling the gap back towards the downside. Gaps do fill. Gap fills happen majority of the times, right? Gaps fill 70% of the time in a 48-hour period. Options account was a 3K. Do you already established rules at that point? You learned as it went in on that month. No, when I first started trading, because I already had experience, so transitioning from options to stocks was a little bit easier. If you first trade and the only thing you've ever traded was options, right? Options is the hardest financial instrument to trade. Right? If you trade Forex, futures, stocks, there's no other variables besides the actual underlying, so which makes it nice and easy. All you're focused on is price action. Whereas options, you're not only focused on the actual underlying, you have to worry about the options risk and how the options move as well, just because there's a lot of other things that are affecting price. How would you play reversals and indices and others? That's a great question. I have a YouTube video coming out tomorrow talking about reversals. So that's going to be tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. That seems like it's about it. I do see a few other questions here, but I'm gonna get ready for market open here now. If you guys did enjoy that, I appreciate if you guys drop me a like. Palantir, yeah, Palantir. I do like Palantir above your previous day highs as well, so you can keep an eye on that one. All right, that's gonna be it for me today. I hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend. If you guys enjoyed that, I appreciate if you guys drop me a like. I have a YouTube video coming out tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time talking about the reversal of the opening range, which is going to be a good video. And then that's about it. If you guys also want to join the free watch list, that is also in the description below. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the weekend. Peace.